Well, obviously disappointed to be beat here, but I've got to say I was very, very pleased with the way the guys went about their business. The first 20 minutes of the game, I thought the players showed a hell of a lot of intensity, taking the lead. Should have really extended that lead from Josh, the one that hit the crossbar. But to go in 2-1 down at the break, especially from a set piece again, was hugely disappointing. The reaction from the players at half time I thought was fantastic. There was certainly some very good moments in that second period, and in the end, I think we let them off the hook a little bit with the penalty leading into those final exchanges, which was a tad unnecessary.
Yeah, Gary, you touched on some of this. Obviously, it felt like a much better performance just in terms of chance creation, intensity. It felt like Hany and Sam were more on the same page than we've seen, even if it didn't result in goals. I'm curious how you balance that with kind of some of maybe the self-inflicted mistakes at the other end, and kind of, I guess, where do you go from here?
Well, it's a very good question. I think we're finding a really good balance in the group. You know, the 2 weeks off, I think, gave us a good opportunity to find some structure, and we saw I think the benefits of that and the results of that. Some excellent chances created, as I think you've already said. Honestly, 4 dead balls in 4 games is not a stat that I like the look of, and I think the guys are very aware of that. I can only tell you from that front that last year in the very same setup, maybe minus 1 or 2 individuals, we were in the elite category from defending situations. So are we saying now that those players missing are such an important factor? In Walker's case, I would say absolutely so. I think what we can look at are how those set pieces come about. There were some difficult moments leading into the second goal. I was just as disappointed about the first goal. It was really, the first sort of bright moment that they had. There was more that could be done there, for sure. And I think some of the individual defending, the guys will look back on and say, given a second opportunity, I might make 1 or 2 different choices. But I think all in all, part of the difficulty at the moment is not actually taking advantage of some of the really good opportunities that we're having. There's no doubt about it. We don't look as watertight as we have done in the past. I've given you my opinion on the fact that we're missing 2 internationals, which I think will make a big difference. But ultimately, I think we're making enough opportunities. And of course, if you can extend that lead from 1 to 2 here, I think it gives everyone a huge amount of confidence to maybe go on and protect. Quick goal after our goal, and the tide turns. But I've said to the guys, more positive than negative. 2 set-piece situations, a penalty and a corner again, that have been the undoing of the group.
Hey, Gary, I want to ask you about 2 individuals. Starting off with Jack Mayer. He seems like he lost his spot and came in a pinch tonight. And then the other one is Elliot Panico, who, in the opposite way, earned a spot and now seems like he was dropped at halftime. So can you just give me an assessment on both those guys?
Yeah, look, Jack was on the outside looking in because I thought he was going through a little bit of a bad run of form. He's performed at a very, very high level for this group. And I have no issues with Jack. I was trying to give him a little bit of time and space, a bit of work on the training field, gather his thoughts, find a bit more confidence and get back to basics simply. And I thought he came on and did a very good job. Not easy coming off the bench as a defender, as we all know. And with Elliot, I just thought he was going through a very difficult time. I didn't want to put him under the spotlight in the second half. There were 3 or 4 moments with the ball at his feet that I think they were seeing as prime opportunities maybe to get a higher press, and it was causing some difficulties for the rest of the group. So, look, again, some wonderful work from Elliot. He was in the side because he deserved to. this is a blip, no more. It was a difficult 45 minutes for him. He actually made one or two excellent saves, but the work with his feet was off cue. It was creating some issues, and I felt it was the right move at this point. But that's not to detract from what he's done for us in the past.
Yeah, Gary, I think you said it. I think it was after the LAFC game that it was a little bit too early to ask the question of whether this team is headed in the right direction. But, you guys are coming off a bye week. You have a few players getting healthy this week, a few more on the way, a more normal schedule, and, some positive signs in that. I guess, at what point do you feel it becomes more appropriate to ask that question?
Well, I think you can ask that question at any point in time. That's your job. But the answer I will give you is this. The players that we have out of the team at the moment are very influential. It's not just about getting those guys back in the team in specific areas that are causing us a problem, which is in that back line, but it's also getting them back to full. Randall's played 10, 15 minutes tonight, but I've got to say, he looked well off the pace, and expectedly so. He's been out for 3 months. So therefore, there's going to be some pick-up time for those players to get back to what we would class as tip-top form. At this point, I'm looking at a group that are moving positively with their play. There were many, many aspects of our play tonight I was very, very pleased with. Take out of the equation a corner just before the break with a goalkeeper that was having a difficult time, which we've not seen in a long, long time. Take out of the equation what I would class as a rash challenge late in the game to give us an opportunity to fight for those last 10 minutes. But also, please offer me the opportunity to say that we also created some very, very good chances that we should have taken more advantage of. So therefore, the question is relevant, but I would be answering it in a sense that I saw loads of positives. We have 4 out of 5 games at home that I'm now looking forward to. I'm not sure I would have said that a couple of weeks ago. We're in, I think, a very decent place mentally. The players have given a tremendous effort tonight in a very difficult environment and against a tough team. And I think we're some very fine lines away from putting points back on the board again.
Gary, is it safe to say that we saw the Nashville team that you expect from here on, and perhaps many of the same mistakes as well?
I would say that we're starting to see a little bit more of the form that I would like to see. I'm hugely disappointed with goals that we've conceded, not just tonight, Claudio, but over a period of time. There are some aspects of the group that, of course, we have to keep working on and trying to button down. But I do think that there are more positives than negatives, as I've said. I think this run of games at home coming up are going to be very, very important to the group. 4 out of the next 5 at home. Nobody's happy with not putting points on the board or losing games. Make no mistake about that. But I think you've seen tonight the reaction of the group was very, very positive, very bright from the first whistle, a very aggressive approach. And I think everyone will walk away tonight. And if they wake up in their sleep, will shake their head that we've not got something out of this game.
Yeah, Gary, I know it's pretty early, so I'm sure you don't have full info, but I'm just curious if you had any updates on Lucas, and then it looked like Hany maybe rolled his ankle a little bit there at the end and wasn't completely good at the end of the game. So I'm just curious about those two.
Yeah, Lucas is going to have an X-ray in the morning. I think the initial thoughts are that he hasn't broken anything. But I think out of precaution, we'll get an X-ray when we get back home. He's heavily strapped, but I would suspect that something that may be reasonably difficult to deal with. So we'll get more early part of next week. I think Hany's okay. He was sitting in there with a bag of ice on his ankle, but I think he's okay.
Hey, Gary, a lot of talk and a lot of stats kind of pointing out from sort of the end of Leagues Cup last year and that form and what's happening this season. I mean, is it fair to say it's a continuation of that, or do you feel like what's happening this season is its own thing?
I've said it before. Of course, I can't give you a definitive. There's the dividing line. This is the problem, and that was the problem then. But I certainly look at it in two very different ways. Last year, I do think it was fatigue, emotional fatigue. The group that had, played a ton of minutes and a lack of goals, a lack of creation in those final 10 games. There were not many defeats, but nowhere near enough victories or goals in that spell. I'd like to think everyone's looking at a different perspective this year. We're creating opportunities. We're not clinical enough at the moment, but we're certainly putting ourselves in a good position. This is not the first time we've gone in front and we've lost the game. That is not normal for this group. So therefore, my focus has to be elsewhere. And it certainly is regarding conceding goals. Another really difficult trend to take are set pieces, are dead ball situations. We've lost so many points from dead ball situations this year. And I have to put penalties in that as well. The amount of penalties that have been given away, that's, for me, a lack of control in stressful situations. Players that are not in control of what they're doing and making poor choices. Of course, corners and dead balls are all about players that are going to be aggressive, focused, and attack the ball. We haven't done that well enough. But what I would say is that over the course of the 4 years prior to what we're seeing right now, the side have performed at a very high level. We've achieved an awful lot through an awful lot of difficult circumstances. 4 playoff scenarios, a cup final for the group at home, an MVP, a golden boot, 2 defenders of the year, players that are performing and have done at an extremely high level. I'm not looking at this group at the moment and thinking to myself, we don't have the tools to get this done at all. I think the next 4 games at home are going to tell an awful lot about us. But I'm certainly not looking at the group and thinking that we're a million miles away from where we want to be. I think we're losing out in certain areas of the field for sure. And it's certainly not nice, the run of form that we're in. But I see a lot of positives that we can work with.
Yeah, we started well. We had a plan. We executed it well. Then they scored with their first chance, and was difficult. Then we have to go. We have to score the second goal. We didn't do it, so yeah, it was a not bad game. We had a plan and we tried, and I think it looked way better than the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Hany, I mean, you just mentioned having a plan. It felt like you guys came out with a lot more intensity and kind of more similar to what we saw in Leagues Cup last year, where pressing high and caused a lot of problems early. I'm just curious, maybe tell us a little bit more about that plan and kind of what you thought of you and Sam, and maybe some of the times you came close to finding a second goal.
Yeah, I think we tried to press them from the beginning. It worked pretty well, and then after 20 minutes we dropped a little bit deeper, but we tried to press them. We saw that they're good with the ball, but they make mistakes, and I think we did it good in the beginning. I think in general it was a very solid game. But of course, if you don't get the 3 points, if you don't get any points, it's always very disappointed.
Honey, it looks from outside looking in that you felt very comfortable in the game for the most part. Was this perhaps in your opinion, the best game you had all season so far?
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of my better games this year. I like this position when I can stay higher up. I don't have to drop that deep. I can stay high, and I'm more than excited that Randall is back. That we have a connecting piece between the defense and offense, and I think, that's then I can stay higher, can be more aggressive and closer to the goal.
Hey, Hany, you talked about Randall already. Another guy that kind of is vital to that attack is Sam Surridge, and he missed a couple chances tonight, and you and the rest of the team obviously are creating. First, is it frustrating to continue to create and just those balls not going in? And second, what are you doing? Is there anything special you're doing with Sam to kind of make sure that the finishing improves all around?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all Sam. I think he played me a very good ball in the second half where he laid it off. I get a shot off. It's we have to find each other. I'm telling him every day. Trust me, I'm telling him every day. Like, please, we need to connect. We are the offensive pieces, and we have to build the relationship. We have to keep going. But it's better. We try to find each other. We try to look for each other. I'm always more worried if we don't create chances, but if we continue to create chances, we will definitely score, both of us.
Yeah, Hany, I guess how are you as a team looking at this upcoming stretch where you guys have 4 games, 4 or 5 games at home? I guess how important is that stretch for you guys?
Yeah, I think we are better off to see game by game. Next home game is against San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, our objective should be like getting 3 points. Doesn't matter how. That's always the first win. Get the bus rolling, and then go from there. So I think we should focus now full on San Jose. Take the good parts of our game from Miami, from the Miami game, and I'm now it's time to get some points. Have a good night.
Thank you.